Hey, Dan, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Sure. My name is Dan Michael. I am the SVP of Sales and Field Operations for Key Factor. We're a security company based in the U.S., and I've been involved in sales pretty much my whole life. So I started out when I was 15, selling vacuum cleaners door to door, and
Nice.
have continued selling all the way into my 40s now, right? So
Yeah.
been doing it a long time.
Was it just a natural thing, or was it money driven, or?
Well, for me, it was my father at the time realized I wasn't a great student, and I really
Oh, he realized it?
he realized I wasn't a great student, and that I pretty much like sports and talking to girls and social events at school, and that was it, you know. And he told me, son, you've got the gift of gab. I think maybe you should think about sales. And he took me to the mall where they had an Electrolux place, and demanded the guy hire me. And the guy gave me a few books to read, one of which was Think and Grow Rich that I read back then. And he told me to come back, and if I could answer some questions about the book, that he'd give me a shot. And that was long time ago. They used to basically kick us out of a car with what amounted to a notebook and some flyers, and you'd have to go around and talk to folks all day, right? So after school.
That's probably the hardest of the hard, isn't it?
Yes, it was definitely hard. It was more so back then too, because there was no cell phones or anything. So, if you wanted to not be bored for 4 hours, you had to talk to people, and get
you couldn't play chess on your smartphone.
Couldn't play chess on your computer, or phone, exactly.
Yeah. And then how'd you get into technology sales?
That was quite by accident, to be honest with you. So I'd done door-to-door sales for a long time. I put on my LinkedIn profile that I've knocked nearly 1 million doors. That's wow. Actually accurate. It was 200 homes a day was like my par. And I did that for 15 years, 5 days a week, and a long time, and I had a business that I built for cable companies and telcos. We had 8 offices around the country, and I sold that when I was 30, and then didn't know what I was going to do. I'd signed this agreement that said that I wouldn't go back into the cable and telco space because I just sold the business, right? And I was basically sitting on my couch eating bonbons and watching The View for like 8 months, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I'm kidding, but trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Yeah, I'm joking, but like I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, right? Like my best friend called me on the telephone and said, "Come down and have lunch with me and put on a tie." And I promptly said some expletives about not putting on a tie to come to lunch with my best friend, but he talked me into it, and I went down there, and I was kind of ambushed by his boss for a company called Borland Software, and took a job, entry level, lowest level position you could take. Came back and told my wife that I'd just taken a job in the salary level that I took the job for. She proceeded to ask me if I was crazy, like, because we couldn't possibly pay our bills and rent and everything on that. But I looked at it like I was going back to school for a new thing, and I was going to earn my stripes. And, I was only in that role, the junior role, for a short time, about a year, before I got promoted into a bag carrying rep, and then led the country for Borland the next year. So.
Well, that's it. And right before this interview, I got off the phone with a friend of mine whose son is selling cars. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like him and I were in technology sales, and it's pretty good living. If you're going to sell, you might as well go to the place that's going to give you the best reward for your effort.
Absolutely. Essentially what locked me in was the guy showed me a W-2 that was grayed out. And I said, wait a minute, they made that much? And the guy said, yeah. And I said, that's more than I made owning my own business. And you have all the risk? I was like, sign me up. And that's how I got into technology sales. So.
And what was the ramp like as far as learning technology, learning how to sell B2B versus door to door?
It's hard. It was steep, right? Now, talking to people is still just talking to people, right?
Yeah.
But there was a lot. I can give you a quick story if you want to hear it. My old boss at the time, I told him I could talk to anybody I wanted to, and he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, anyone you want, I'll get him on the phone." And he said, okay, the CIO of Rico Copiers. It happened to be a lead that we had, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, okay. So I called into Rico. I didn't know anything about anything with this. I called into Rico Copiers switchboard and I said, hey, this is 1-800-Flowers. And the lady said, what? I go, I need to talk to John Smith. It's 1-800-Flowers. And then she goes and she puts me in touch. This was a long time. I would never do this now. But anyway, she puts me in touch with John. The guy answers the phone and he says, 1-800-Flowers. I said, no, Borland Software. And he said, oh, you've got real balls, kid. Why are you on the phone with me right now? Yeah. And I said, I went into my pitch real quick. And he said, well, that does sound interesting. Do you work on an AS400? And I paused. And he said, do you know what an AS400 is?
Yeah.
And I said, no. He goes, call me back when you learn what you're talking about, and hung up the phone, right? And that was a lesson to me in A, be authentic. This doesn't work, what I just tried. And B, know your stuff a little more than this. So I ended up getting to the office early with my SE every day, and we worked on a glossary of terms that we built into a notebook. And I started with vocabulary.
Yep.
After I understood the vocabulary, I worked on architectures and slowly became a technologist with a lot of hard work,
Cool.
So.
And then what made you decide to go into leadership?
So when I had my own company, I did a lot of training of salespeople. We probably had 500-600 people come through my doors. I mean, a lot of people aren't cut out for door-to-door, as you can imagine. I might train them twice and they quit. Right. So I went through a lot of training and I got a great deal of satisfaction watching other people do well. And then turn around and also say satisfaction of being told thank you after the fact, when people would come up and thank you for doing well. And I also kind of looked at it as a way to maybe elongate my career. So I enjoy coaching. I also think as a leader, maybe you can stay in this bag longer than you can sometimes as a rep. I don't know. It could be argued, right? I don't know. And I just liked it. So that's why I decided to do it. And I've done both. At different times in my career, I've jumped back and forth. So,
and so what do you look for when you're hiring?
So when I'm hiring, the first thing, so I have 2 firewalls right up front, and that's no idiots and no assholes. Those are rules in the business, right? So for the one, we have like basically an assessment that we have somebody takes that gives me a score to make sure that they're smart people that I'm talking to, right? Yeah. The other half of that conversation was more subjective, and I find out as I'm talking to someone. There's no test for that, right? But I'm always looking for high levels of intellectual curiosity. I think to be good at technology, you just have to be curious, super curious, right? And a very big motor. I feel like as a coach, just like a football coach couldn't teach someone speed, right? They either have it or they don't. I think internal motor is very much the same thing. As a coach, I can't make you get a work ethic. You just have it or you don't, right? Yeah. So I look for that. A burning desire to be successful. A lot of people say they do, but then I ask them to tell me their story for why they got that burning desire. And then usually that's where it unravels. If they're just people that have a burning desire will tell you why they have a burning desire to be successful in 2 seconds. Right. So that, and then just coachable people, and coachability is harder to grab and to test. But it's what I'm looking for, but it is harder to test for in an interview.
Have you found any particular backgrounds stick out?
Yeah, so certainly. I mean, a lot of different backgrounds stick out, but most I like NCAA athletes, for example. They tend to do great. Ex-military people a lot of times do fantastic. Yeah. People that have door-to-door experience tend to do fantastic. Yep. Business owners that maybe had all the gumption and hit bad times and lost their business, but they have the gumption, tend to do great. All those types of things. But there's others. A lot of times it's just engaging personalities too. And then, so.
Well, that's it. That those all have a coach in the background, right? Military's got the drill sergeant,
Good point.
Sports have a coach. Door to door, like you see a lot of Mormons who go on the mission. Mm-hmm. It's door to door sales.
That's right.
You think a
Absolutely.
vacuum cleaner is hard.
Yeah, exactly. That's really hard. That's really hard.
Right. Change somebody's whole belief system in a door-to-door
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah. That's much more difficult than a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but on the coachability, can you find that out in the interview, or is that?
It's hard. It's hard. A lot of times I'll ask them questions around mentoring, like if they seek out mentors, that means
Yeah.
they're seeking out coaches, right? Or talk to me about a time where you've worked with a mentor and they've helped you through a problem or something like that. Those kinds of questions. But it's the hardest one of those other three I talked about to pin down is coachability, I think.
And the motor, that kind of be fake during the interview, right?
It can, but sometimes there's other things that you can see that calls it out. So like I'll send somebody my Calendly, right? If they take my 7:30 slot and they're there 5 minutes early, pretty sure they got a great motor. They wouldn't be up early on my first interview slot,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like
especially when they're in their 20s, getting up early is kind of counterintuitive. And
exactly. Right. So some of that, but if you ask somebody to tell a story about how they live their life, which is a lot of times what I'll ask, especially people right out of college or something, really young people that are coming into my organization, I'll ask them, tell me how you spend your days, right? When do you wake up and what do you do? Right. And when I hear somebody, a lot of times they get kind of all over the place with it. And then you're like, that person has no motor. The one that has motor is the one that says, I wake up at 4:30, I do this, I read this, I do this, and then I go on, I work out, and then, and you're like, that guy's done more by 9 o'clock than everybody else has done. That guy's got a motor. Right.
And that's a good example.
Yeah.
And the intellectual depth, how do you judge? I mean, other than
I have an assessment for that.
Do you?
We have an assessment for that. Yeah. We send somebody an assessment, and if it comes back red, they don't talk to me. Really? They don't make it past it. It's a straight firewall. So, but yeah.
But is the bar that high though?
We've had many not make it through.
Really?
I've had folks that I knew. I've had folks that I knew that were marginally successful at other places that came in, took my test and flopped. And then I said, well, okay, forget it. I just look at it as like a yes, no thing, right? I tell people up front, it's not a test that can be studied for, but it's one that you should take when you're sharp. So whatever your most sharpest time is, right? For me, that's in the morning. For me, that's in the morning with a cup of coffee. I'm the most sharp I'm going to be all day. Take it at that time, and it's obviously a high stress situation, but this is a sales environment, and giving somebody a high stress situation up front isn't a bad move, in my opinion. We'll see how they handle stress later.
So, have you ever found like people with the motor, but not the resilience that's required?
Yeah, sure. That's actually, it's funny that you're, that's right in the mud right there. We've had a couple of them like that. Yeah. So,
And how about like the competitiveness? I mean, because you see that in military, you see it in sports, obviously.
Sure. I mean, there's a question that I ask all the time, even though I know it's probably a little silly, but I always ask people which one motivates them more, the fear of losing or the love of winning, right? And in my mind, the correct answer to that question is the fear of losing, right? Like for me, I won a lot, right? I've won a lot in my life, but the ones where I lost late, like where I was down to the wire, and I can tell you every single thing that happened the entire way, like it was yesterday. It plays out in my brain. And winning, you love it. It's a wonderful feeling, and then it's over, and then you're on to the next one. Like it doesn't stick the way
anyway. That comes up a lot, and I've kind of been, I've always hated the losing too, but then I hear the people who love to win, because it's kind of the same thing, depending on how you look at it and how emotionally attached you are to it.
Sure.
Like if
I can see that.
Yeah. I must win versus I like to win.
Fair point. Yeah, fair point.
But if there's no emotional attachment to either,
then we got a problem.
You got a problem,
We
right?
got a real problem. Yeah,
Because you might be real hard worker, but not care about the outcome.
exactly. Which is a
And
problem. We want
that's
to
a
win.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you were to build that perfect salesperson, are all those the right characteristics? Kind of the
Yeah, I mean,
motor.
high intellectual curiosity, a big motor, burning desire to be successful, coachable, but then also obviously things like being personable, engaging, believable, having a trustworthy presence, like just
Yes.
I don't know how to that's a subjective thing, um a lot of that just comes off with talking to someone. Do they come off as authentic or not? Anyway.
And how about like money motivated? Because
Sure. Money motivated is great. I'm money motivated. I think everybody's money motivated, right?
well, that's it. Because I find if that's not there, then maybe marketing is better, or customer support, or
Sure.
you know,
Agreed. Every salesperson should be motivated by money, but it's not enough by
it's
itself.
not
Because,
enough by
right,
itself.
right,
Because if you lose, you'll just get pissed off and try.
right.
And as soon as you find a job that has a better base salary,
Then you're gone. Yeah.
you're gone, right? It's the
Right.
only thing.
Yeah.
Cool. And what kind of coaching would you have to young salespeople who have those ingredients and really want to be successful in sales?
Sure. So I guess that's another way of asking me what I wish I'd learned earlier in my career, right? So I think I would say not to be too nervous when talking to big titles or in big moments, right? We all know when big moments are. You're about to give
Right.
that presentation. You're about to talk to the CEO, CIO, whatever. I used to get so nervous and in my head when I was younger, like, and make it into this huge thing. When in reality, those people put their pants on one leg at a time, just like I do. I'm here to solve a problem. They're interested in hearing me tell them about how I may solve the problem. So why are we having the nerves today? Like,
Right.
get the nerves, talk to them like you would a neighbor at your mailbox, be conversational, authentic, and it would help. I think that would be one place where I think young people get too tight around the axle, right?
Yeah.
So,
And,
starstruck.
so you saw that different than the resilience of going door to door, because that to me is more intimidating than talking to a CEO.
Yeah, well, because I was talking to everyday people, and then in my head
right.
I'd be like, oh, I'm talking to the CEO of this big company, like,
But you're knocking on their door. They're not expecting you.
yeah, sure, that was that was fun, but
They're looking out the window and they're like,
yeah,
who's this guy with he's got a vacuum in his hand. I guess now
right.
you know.
Now they know exactly. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad for sure.
And have you ever made any hiring mistakes? Or did you learn these lessons through mistakes, or they were just obvious to you?
Some were obvious, some were made through mistakes, certainly. I mean, mistakes are a great teacher for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I've made some mistakes, but also a lot of it was just me sitting down and thinking about my hiring North Star, before I started hiring. All these things are on my North Star. I actually netted out for my hiring managers that are doing hiring in the organization underneath me. I netted out to, when you look at this person, do you see them as good as yourself or better in wherever step they are in their career?
Yeah.
Right. I want to be an A player who attracts A players, not a B player attracting C players.
Right. There's a big
That makes
difference
sense.
there. And did you have a particular interview process, meaning like a short phone call, then a in person?
Interview process meeting, you mean before we set up our North Star? What was the question in regards to?
Yeah, like say you're interviewing a rep to work for you, not
Mhm.
for one of your managers. Do you you look at the resume, do you talk on the phone first, or you want a face to face?
I do Zoom face-to-face meetings first every time, because I want to look in somebody's eyes and see them and talk to them and kind of study their body language a little bit and try to get a read. And I feel like I get a read by seeing someone, not just by talking to them on the phone. So,
And how long does it typically take to make a decision? In your mind,
Well,
not verbally.
in my mind,
Yeah.
usually it's within the first 10 minutes or
Really?
less. I've already, in my head, I've already got it covered. And then folks tend to know they've done a really good job. If we have a 30-minute interview and I'm still talking to you 45 minutes after the end of the thing, that means it's obviously really good.
Yeah.
And conversely, if things are going really bad, I'm not going to waste all 30 minutes of my life on this bad conversation, right? I've got other things to do. So
And how about if they don't close you? Is that a red
I
flag?
hate that. That's certainly a red flag. And every job I've ever wanted in my life, I've told the person, take a chance on me. I'm gonna perform, like every job I've ever got. Right.
Yeah.
Like, so not doing that step or acting like this resume with that said I went to school at this place and got this master's in XYZ. I mean, that's great. I'm glad that you did that. Right.
Right.
Wonderful. Doesn't mean a damn thing to me in business. Right.
Yeah.
Like I need to see you step up and ask for this, so
And how about the college degree? What weight do you give that?
I mean, I give it equal degree to like somebody who's had some experience in sales. So like if I talk to a guy who's been selling cars for 3 years and I talk to somebody who went to college, I'm looking at them the same. I'll be honest with you, because the guy selling cars for 3 years has learned how to talk to people and how to be presentable and how to be authentic. And
Right.
I just got to teach him new vocabulary and a different stroke. It's not quick, it's longer, right? But so I don't look at it as I don't look at it as a must for a sales
And
position.
and for your leaders, do you let them pass somebody to you if they're not ready to hire them?
What do you mean? Like,
Because I had a VP and he always had this rule. He goes, don't ever send me anybody that you wouldn't hire.
no, I want to make a collaborative decision, right? So like, I'm not going to be the guy that says yes, because the hiring manager needs to be the guy that says yes.
Right.
But I can certainly be one of the people that say no,
Yeah.
right? Like if I talk to him, like, no, I like this guy, and no, right? Like because I've been doing this maybe longer, have more experience than maybe my hiring manager does. And if I see something that they don't like, we both have to love this person. Both of us have to love this person. And the other people in our process do as well. We have cultural stewards that get involved in our hiring process to make sure that we think these people culturally will fit. And those are cross-functional resources, not salespeople, that do those interviews. There's a lot of people that can say no, but there's ultimately one person that can say yes, and that's the hiring manager. So,
and how about like sharp elbows? Maybe they're not all the way on the category of jerk,
right.
But they are kind of a lone wolf,
Yeah, I like less of that now. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
I'm not a big fan of the lone wolf thing. I think in today's world, in today's business, we have to win as teams. We're going out to battle against our competition, and they're bringing a team. I think it's personally, I feel like it's having I don't know, an overinflated ego if you think I can do this all by myself in a lot of situations. So I don't know.
And how about the people who want to get into leadership?
Yeah, I expect, so we have regular conversations about career path with everybody on my team that's performing, right? All the performing people we have set up on the calendar conversations about their career path and what they want to do. We have leadership cohorts, we call it, which are free for everyone to join, where we talk as an organization about what different aspects of leadership. It's all run by different people in the business. So like I have a section on negotiation and persuasion. We have other people that do sections on other things. And we at Key Factor, for example, 20% of our business at the end of 2020 going into 2021 took a promotion. 1 in 5 people in the company, right?
Yeah.
We're a growing business, so that helps, right? But I think we like to stay ahead of that. Being a lone wolf, though, doesn't help me think you're going to be a good leader. Matter of fact, it makes me think you're going to be a terrible leader if you're alone.
Oh, it sure does. Right. And how do you coach them? Let's say they're a great rep, but they're not taking on helping other people. They're not hurting other people. They're just focused on their bag, getting their number. What are the directions and coaching do you give them?
Well, then in that particular case, I would probably, at least make sure they're helping their SDR, right?
Yeah.
Because that's helping themselves and that's also helping someone else, right? A lot of times, if they're really good reps, I'll mix them with a less experienced sales engineer, for example,
Yeah.
so that that person will just end up helping to train the other person. I do things to try to get what I need regardless, right? By just
Yeah.
moving the pieces around them a little bit. So
Cool. And what makes a great sales manager, like that first line? This is a tough job.
it is a tough job. To me, it's and it's not, it's the team recognizing the in the foxhole with them. That's always how I saw it. Like I'm in battle with my team in this foxhole together. I am not general sitting up at the top yelling down little things for you to do. Right? Like it's a different motion, right? And we're discussing things, we're trying to figure it out, but ultimately, if we disagree, you're going to do what I want to do because I'm the lieutenant and I'm in the damn foxhole with you and we're battling, right? But I think reps tend to love that, and you should know that a great leader, because the people working for them love working for them, want to work.
And how about as far as like personal ownership? What the psychologists call the internal locus of control, that they are responsible for what's going on versus it's someone else's fault.
Well, I mean,
it's the product, it's my territory, it's the quota.
Oh yeah, no,
leads.
we don't listen to any of those excuses at all. We're here to win, right? We're here to win. That's loser talk. I'm sorry. No. I mean, we are responsible for winning, not for coming up for all the reasons for why
we're number two.
It just, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear the complaint. I want to hear what's the action we're doing to get around the block, or how are we, not complaints. What are we doing to move forward? Right. That's why all of my pipeline meetings are very focused on like, what are we doing next between now and the next pipeline meeting to move the deal forward? Not, I heard one of yours a few weeks back where it just made me laugh, where it was like, what's your top number? What's your Chernobyl number? We don't do any of this Chernobyl number, top number. We don't do any of that. We
Best case, worst case.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't use a carrot and we don't use a stick either. We use a flashlight. We use a flashlight and transparency. We shine light on everything. We ask people to be transparent about where you're at now, what you're going to do incrementally between now and next time. And then we track that incremental progress. And then as a leader, I can make a forecast, right? Based on where things are, without asking for a lot of convoluted numbers. So
cool. Hey, Dan, I appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you and learn more about your company?
So the website is keyfactor.com, and then me personally, I'm at www.linkedin.com/in/Dan Michael. So if you put in Dan Michael, I'm the first one. So